You did it. Okay.
Okay, cool. So this is gonna be me versus Pepper. I'm Zang. That's Pepper. I have Toji. He has Yuta. The debate will be Toji versus Yuta. I guess I'll start. First off, would you just agree that Toji has better stats than Yuta?
I'm neutral to it, basically. Agnostic. I don't have anything
You're
to
agnostic? Yeah, okay, I'll prove it to you. So you know how Sukuna says, because Maki is like the first person who ever put a roll upon him to like prove what's better between sorcery and the body. That would imply that Maki has a better physical body or her physical stats are superior to anybody else who he's fought. Um, and that would include people like Yuta, since he's fought Yuta prior. So that would mean Maki has better stats than Yuta, and Maki's equal to Toji. So
What? Okay. Is that your whole point about the stats? No?
that's why I think Toji has better stats than Yuta.
Okay. Mm. Okay, I think you're making it like this is my turn to respond. Okay. I think you're making like a bit of a nuanced statement, like really simple. Like, I don't know, like he's not saying that you're the only person with this body that could have pushed me to this extent. He's not like directly praising the stats compared to someone else. He's saying that he's just like pure muscle without any Christian reinforcement, and that's what fascinates him. Not the whole her having good stats thing. He's talking about HR in and of itself as something that really strongly interests him. I don't really think it's direct pointing that Toji slash Maki would have what is it, direct skill over you, but you got for Sukuna at that point.
Okay, yeah.
I,
So
I kind of don't see that.
okay, yeah. So one, I'm not okay. We can just go over this one by one. So I guess the first thing we would have to address here is just going to be the issue of how do I phrase this? You're trying to say this isn't a comparative statement, but inherently, given the verbiage, it has to be. He says you're the first one to ever force a roll upon me. That's a directly comparative statement. It would mean that no one else prior was able to do that. So it's directly comparing her to people. So it definitely is a comparative statement. Now, as with regards to what it's comparing her in, it definitely is stats. He's talking about the physical body separate from jujutsu. That's the whole point. If someone like Yuta, right, had better physical stats than Maki, then the question would have already been answered with his prior fight against Yuta. Um, I don't see why the heavenly restriction here is relevant. We just know that's her methodology, having better stats, the same way sorcerers have better stats via curse energy reinforcement. The whole point is, okay, which methodology of having stats is better? Um, Via curse energy reinforcement and jujutsu, or via something like heavenly restriction, where she just takes away all jujutsu. That's the whole point. She's the antithesis to the typical jujutsu system. She's the antithesis to sorcery. Um, and was there any other points you made?
No,
I don't.
I'm just countering your argument as of now.
No, yeah. Was there any other points you made during the counter response, or am I missing something?
No. It's fine.
Okay, that's it. Okay, cool. Then anything else that maybe we both don't remember is just going to be dismissed. Uh, yeah. So, do you have any responses to that, or?
Sure. I can both handle that now. I think there's more nuance to it. Like, if you want, because I just got this off Google. This is this translation. If you want to go more into TV, we can get to that. I'll put it in customer in the HQ channel. Um, him saying you're the only one who's ever forced a roll on me is about him wanting to prove himself that wanting to prove to himself and to Monkey that Jujutsu is superior to the pure flesh and bones of the body. He's saying in the end, Jujutsu is nothing but skin and blood. Your body is bone and metal. Like, the very existence is the denial of Jujutsu. That's what fascinates him. It's like if you could bring a panel, please, he's
Oh,
talking about like stats rather than the HR in and of itself. The stats rather than the HR in and of itself. Like I appreciate that, so we can like clarify that more in our like later points. But
oh,
he's more fascinated about her very existence denying the usage of YouTube rather than her very stats. Like really fascinating him, and that's what's enforcing the role on him. No, what's enforcing the role on him is that she denies jujutsu. Is that he has to prove himself to her, and that's the stuff he's going to bring pressure into this role. I'm sorry if that sounds repetitive, by the way.
No, I understand
Um,
what you're saying. There's a few issues with that though. So one, this doesn't pose a necessarily a defeater. It's just positing something else that can also just be trivially true of the situation. You can be interested in her how do I put this? In her like status as someone who possesses no curse energy and someone and be interested in not just interested, but also be getting forced to roll upon her or roll upon him by her. Yeah, the fact that she has great physical stats, those two things aren't mutually exclusive of each other. They can coexist. So just to posit something else being true of the situation is fine. But either way, like I don't even think it matters because one, I think that's probably not the statement's talking about because once again, the statement lacks coherence when when we look back, right? Because the issue is he already knows that she doesn't have curse energy. He fought her prior. So what makes him so interested now? It's very clearly what would be the distinction here, that the only distinction we can actually present here would be the performance that Maki puts up, which should be correlated to her statistics or statistical measures within her stats, right? That sounds retarded. Um, Never mind, yeah, just her stats.
yeah,
I
sure,
phrased that in a really
yeah,
bad way. Yeah.
I get what you
Yeah,
mean.
I phrased that in a really bad way. So it is fun. So obviously it seems to be something that's as a statistical correlation here, and we just know that's the whole point of heavenly restriction as well. The whole thing is like not just that you get no curse energy, but also the trade-off is that you're supposed to have such these insanely high physical stats. I highly doubt Sukuna would care, given that he only cares about strength. There's evidence of this throughout the entire story. All he really cares about is strength. So I highly doubt he would care about the heavenly restriction if it wasn't accompanied by the greater stats as well, which would obviously directly correlate to strength.
You know,
Yeah, I'm done.
the card that like I remember. He already fought Maki, yeah, but here's the thing: he's also aware of her stats. That's a contradiction, I think, in your argument that like was sort of glossed over. He already saw her stats. Like honestly, very, very vocally said to Yuki, "I don't know if I want to see it either." No, so at that point, he already saw. He didn't geek out at that either. Like, and as well as that, what is like certainly true, like a truly true point. What I'm presenting, I think, is more in line with what the story presents. Sukuna is more point rather than no point up there. While it can be a blend, one vocally like said by a character, it would lend, I think, personally, more to the interpretation that's out there denial. It's about the jutsu, the lack of clarity, so on and so forth, rather than the body, which he already saw, and focusing on, I guess, the clash of ideology there, rather than, I think, or really believe, the stats section, we saw the stats, we saw the uncertainty. So, and was that all your points that you made in your section?
Mm, well, I think you tried to give a response to most of the stuff.
Yeah, I think that covered most of it. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so the issue with that is one, when you say that he already saw her stats, one that presupposes that Maki's going full power. The scan that you cited is just directly lying about what was said. Maki says, "Do you want to speed things up?" She doesn't say, "Do you want to go all out?" Um, if Maki has a max power level of 10, for example, right, and she was operating at a power level of 5, and then she starts operating at a power level of 8, um, that would also still be speeding things up without going all out. If you want an incentive as to why that would be the case, or why she would ever even hold back to begin with on such a formidable foe, it could be because of the fact that it has Megami's body. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to take out Megami. Um, Megami's literally her like cousin or whatever. She's a close family member, close friend. Even Sukuna notes that Maki is Megami's friend when he says that Megami is dampening his curse energy output when it's time to hit his friends, those being Yuji and Maki in the context of the fight. And there's it's even more evidence for that when we realize Maki wasn't even using Soul Split Katana during the fight. So clearly she's not at least not holding back in some instances, and you just can't prove she's going all out generally. Even then, like even if I did steel man that, right? Which I'm not, but even if I did and I did grant that, it would also just wouldn't account for Maki potentially getting stronger after that moment in time, which could still make the statement make sense later on. Um, Also, you saying that it's going to be talking about the body because he already saw the stats doesn't make sense because he already agreed that he already saw the body. So for him to be super interested in it now makes no sense, especially given that we know verifiably there's no actual change within her body in the sense that there's no change in the fact that she still has heavenly restriction. She still has no curse energy. However, we can identify a change within her stats, at least granted via the statement, or at least there could be a change in her stats. Whereas there's obviously not going to be any type of change within her curse energy levels, but there could be a change within her strength levels. So obviously, you would lean toward her strength level changing instead of her body changing. That'd be the more plausible interpretation here. And then you denying that, and you kept repeating about how it could just be talking about Maki's body. That just repeats the claim, doesn't actually attack the argument I gave. I said these things can be mutually inclusive of each other. If you don't actually pose a defeater, I don't know why I should have to, try to provide probability against it. I agree, it's true. Sukuna's definitely interested in her body and the fact she has no cursed energy. But the issue is, I can still be tied into stats. Like once again, like I said, Sukuna only cares about strength. He's said this on multiple occasions. That all he cares about. So for him to be worried about the properties of Maki's body and not actually about the strength in which he possesses, especially given the whole point of heavenly restriction is to take away all the curse energy in order to give immense strength in the form of physical stats. It just seems like your position seems a bit incoherent here and a little irrational. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, Ugly over here is losing.
Wait, can we ban her on SpongeBob? Y'all know he groomed a 16-year-old, right? Can we ban this nigga?
Wait, so that was
Why
me?
is this guy actually trying to ban me because I said he's asset debating? Chill.
Wait, can we ban her on SpongeBob? He's like actually like an adult and groomed a minor.
You
Can we like
can't
actually
prove
ban him?
that, by the way. You can't prove that.
Like
by the way.
there's an
Never
entire
happened.
document about it.
I
By the
remember
way.
this from the Kotu days.
Zang, you're ugly
My
as
big,
fuck,
yo,
by the
my
way,
big,
I
yo,
swear.
my big. Can we,
Oh
yo,
my fuck.
nigga,
I don't know
we
if
can
I
go
can
face for
confirm or
face right
deny
now,
it, but
bitch
I'm
ass
gonna
nigga.
go ahead and do it, but it might be.
Yo, Haram,
Actually,
shut the fuck
you
up.
actually want
Anyways, like I said, yeah, we could, and I promise I'll get next thing I'll look better. Anyways, my big, can you like at least disconnect from the
looking
VC
like
as
a
being
tree.
very weird? Yeah, thank you very much. Anyways, we continue with the debate, Pepper. You can give your response.
I can vouch for what Zhang said, by the way.
Yeah, you're just gonna vouch for what I said too. That nigga he is quite literally a pedophile. Haram is not Pepper, obviously. Yeah.
No, that's fine. It's fine. Like you talking about it rather than not talking about it, removing the pet pop.
Yeah, my big. I can send like there was an entire document made out of it. That's why he got banned from every server in the com. Yeah, he got banned from every server in the com, and barely anyone allows him in the com anymore. He only goes to places where people don't know him. I can send you the document later. But anyways, Pepper, going with your point, they can cut that shit out the recording.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna cover the one of the main points here. You made a point about Maki things up in both translations. He says, "Oh, necessarily." Well, I want to find my wording here because I need to be careful. Let me send the scans real quick. I won't get it distracted. It's fine. Anyway, Maki says that she'll speed things up with Yuji against Maguna there. First of all, yes, I do acknowledge she's holding back by not holding the sword, but we already know holding the sword in JJK is somewhat of a like speed nerf in and of itself. From what Yuji knows about Yuta, I think he from I can get it later if you ask about it. Dang, dude, shut the fuck up. Speed things up. Yeah, you made an example about her speeding things up from 2 to 8, but not 10. I don't really see why it would be the case that she would be in this specific threshold of only at 8, not at 10. There, I can bet she's holding back in lethality, sure, but that doesn't necessitate her holding back in speed. Toji, for example, he held back his lethality against Geto, but there's no real evidential case for him holding back speed there, nor is it ever made a point in Jujutsu Kaisen that holding back in lethality or holding back in ways not trying to harm other people, that it would decrease stats in some way, shape, or form for me to really grant that her like being softer on Meguna would necessarily grant that she's not as fast as she would normally be for that case. As well as that, I think you also made a point about. Could you remind me again? What was your point on like the whole ideology, physical stuff? I'm sorry, Haram's been about distracted.
Oh yeah, I was saying it's probably about strength also, just because one, we know Sukuna only cares about strength. He doesn't care about random properties of people. He only cares about strength. He says he exhibits that multiple times, and I also think, and I tie that into about how heavenly restriction isn't just taking away someone's curse energy. The entire point is that it takes away the curse energy to give them immense physical strength. So that's like two reasons as to why I would think Sukuna would be talking about strength in that statement. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that it?
Oh yeah,
Or is there more?
I tied it into how like the burdens. When Sukuna says he has a burden on him, yeah, why would he ever have a burden on him if it wasn't someone who's actually strong enough or stronger than other people prior? It wouldn't make sense even if they have zero curse energy. If they're like a random fodder, it doesn't make sense. There's another point I brought up. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wait. Sorry, this is like a headache. Oh, hold on. Hold on. This is a headache and a half to dissect. But okay, I'll try. Gets. I wish I could say stuff. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm sorry for geeking out right now. Anyway. Okay. Okay, so physical heavenly restriction doesn't just grant the properties of strength in and of itself. It also grants like extreme sensing, like increased perception of the world around you, and all that other shit, and not seeing curses. So as well as that, it is not just about pure strength. It is not just. It is also about the enhancing of senses and all that stuff and soul perception, so on and so forth. So your point about it like being focally about strength, I think is sort of like it's a bit mixed. I wouldn't really strongly grant it there. And as well as that, you're talking about Sukuna only caring about strength, right? Uh, Sukuna cares about strength in a world order. He cares, like we hear in chapter one. I can get the scan if you want it. He cares. He only cares about hierarchy made from strength. He's not talking about. At least I don't believe he's talking about like pure physical strength. He's just mainly talking about holistic, all around strength. He would logically be talking about Maki as a fighter if he were to put her on a hierarchy, which is why he's so interested in her. That doesn't really. I don't think that really correlates to strictly stats in that sense. So even then, the pressure that's put on him, or the role that's enforced on him, is sort of mixed. It's again, it's not purely stats. So the case, I think it's not as powerful for me to necessarily grant it, or for it to be generally granted when it comes to the day. Um. Also. You said something about. Was there anything else I missed in that?
I don't know. But I'll just respond to the
Okay.
stuff you responded to, and then after this response, I'm probably ready to conclude. I have to go soon, and I don't think this is really going anywhere. I'm probably gonna have to
Okay,
repeat
sure.
most of the stuff. Yeah, so I'll just give the response. We could probably conclude. So one, if you just agree she's phoning back, that's fine. But one, I would question why is having a sword a nerf? I don't know why we would ever take that to be the case. And even if you want to say that it would take or add some type of weight onto the body in which you would have to account for, which would slow down the body because it would slow down the acceleration you can output. I don't even think that matters because we know Maki is like this experienced fighter, should be very adept with the sword. So it's like whatever. Like we don't see most people are slower combatively, especially given the advantages it gives her combatively. And just the fact she should be used to holding those things. So it shouldn't slow her down. Maybe slow her down the first time she used it, but shouldn't slow her down after that. Um, even though she's fought with things like swords, pole arms, like things of that nature all the time, even before she lost all her percentages, so she should be fine. Also, I think you're a little bit confused on the whole point about Maki holding back stats. I never posited that she has to be holding back stats. What I said was I think you're a little confused about like the burdens here, right? Because what happened is you affirmed that situation, right? You brought it up as some type of claim. You're saying, okay, because of this, we know for a fact that Sukuna knows Maki's power level. I'm not the one affirming that. You were. You were affirming that because of this event, Sukuna has some type of gauge on Maki's power level, or at least on some concrete level of power. Shit, I can't speak today. Um, However, and I'm just the one giving the negation here. I'm not saying what I said proves that she's holding back. What I'm saying is that both of our interpretations are equally as likely, whether or not she's holding back or not. So it's fine. She might not be holding back stats, and maybe she's only holding back lethality, but it could also be the case that she's holding back lethality and stats. It's just that nothing you said actually proves that she's holding back only lethality, or that she has equal levels of stats, or that she's going all out in that instance. Also doesn't address the whole point about how Maki could possibly get stronger. I don't actually justify those things in the sense I have to make them more probable because I'm not the one on the affirmation with regards to that point. I'm the one skepticizing the claim you made about how that concretely gives Sukuna a power level to gauge off of Maki, or at least it's a concrete level of power that Maki never surpassed. And the Soul Split Katana stuff was only supporting stuff evidence, anyways. The heavenly restriction stuff you said was kind of like a non-response. I'm not gonna lie. Once again, Sukuna only caring about strength or like overall combativeness is fine. And not just stats, that's fine. But the issue is that one, all Maki has is stats. Like that's her main methodology of fighting. The other things you named are things that help her with fights, but they tie into stats anyways, like precognition. It's just higher react. It just essentially just helps her with higher reaction speed with regards to the fight. Um, Things like sensing, that's fine. That's not like necessarily something that's distinct from the stats, or at least I think sensory can be quantified as a stat anyways. Like Maki directly has better sensories than like someone like Naoya, so it can be classified as a stat anyways. Um, Especially given we classify things like speed and strength as stats anyways, so I don't even think it matters that much. And most of the, and I don't like it's just weird because you keep trying to make this like distinction where Sukuna only cares about overall strength, not just stats. But it's like all Maki has is stats. She just punches and kicks. Like that's all she does. She doesn't have like a domain like Yuta or RCT. She doesn't have any of those things. She doesn't have curse technique, no curse energy. So it's like all she has is just her physical stats. Um, so it seems to me that if speaking about her overall compatibility, it would only be in reference to that, and everything else that could come that she might have, like say for example that like her soul split katana that she could use that as really lethal AP. One, that's going to be derivative of her stats because she still has to have the sufficient speed and AP to land the attacks. Same with things like sensory, like she still has to have the sufficient speed to react even if she has precog. Things like that. So, yeah, but I'm ready to conclude. That's basically my whole response. Unless you like think there's
Okay.
something else you want to add, but
No,
um,
that's fine. That's fine. I don't know
oh
if
sure,
you're talking about it. It's
sure, yeah, we're sure we can finish here.
okay, do I go first or you want
For what?
a conclusion? You know, it's
I
fine.
don't.
I can throw in conclusion.
If you want to give a conclusion, that's fine. I don't give conclusions usually. I just let the people who watch the debate watch my responses. They can watch my arguments. I don't really feel they need to give a conclusion. But if you want to give a conclusion, you got it.
Sure. I mean, me personally, I think I did well enough. I think the comment I did give to the arguments were wrong enough. Yeah, points that I don't think I sufficiently counted, but I think I did a good enough performance. On for the end year. I think he wanted yeah.
Yeah,
Someone stop me recording.
it was a fun debate.